Good to see you, and the rest of us here. Looks like we're all Utah folk here. All right, guys. Well, we want to get going. Be respectful of your time. We'll go till about the 1 o'clock hour. We can go a little bit over if there's some Q&A. We do have another class that starts at 1:30. At 1:30. Yep. So we'll want to like sign off for that. Anybody's welcome to stick around. That next class is basically where we do an overview of our brokerage model. Some of us are on the same team with eXp Realty, and so we're going to talk about that at 1:30. But today at noon, right now, we're happy to have Brandon DeVere. He's my friend in Las Vegas, like he just mentioned. Has a great podcast that a lot of people enjoy. But he started teaching others how to start a podcast, which I thought was really, really a great way to connect with other people and just kind of share the knowledge. And so it worked out really well. Not having him here in Utah with us to do a live lunch and learn, although he has been here before for that, to do this on Zoom. So Brandon, I'm going to just give it to you and you can share your screen and take control, and we can mute ourselves, guys. And then if you want to ask a question, unmute yourself. That way we'll keep the background noise to a minimum. What are you doing? Oh,
there's 7 people that still want to come.
Sorry, guys. I guess there was people that, what did you just do?
There were 7 people waiting to get.
Hey, Jeff, I've gotten a message from Leanne that she needs to be let in.
Okay, well, Lynn just changed my screen, so now I need to find them. I don't know why. There should not be a waiting room.
Hey, I'm in, guys.
Are you in?
Good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I know, but I don't know how to get back to where I was. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead. I'll figure out how to find out if other people are waiting.
All right, perfect. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so just want to kind of start off, as Jeff was saying, well, first, I'm Brandon DeVere. I'm out here in Las Vegas. And as Jeff was saying, yes, we are all, some of us are part of a team, some of us are, with the same company or whatever, but we've all kind of made a commitment to contribution and being able to give back to everyone else in a certain way. And this happens to be the way that I can do it because I have done a podcast a couple times. This is my 3rd podcast, and I found it to be one of the best ways to create content for myself. I know there's other ways out there. This particular class is specifically made to do it for pretty much free. I mean, you can get as advanced as you want. Like we were mentioning about our friend Cliff, who's launching his podcast. He had a 2.5-minute trailer that is like professionally done. I mean, he may have done it, but it would have taken a long time. I know that everything in this class you can take and start your own podcast in 40 minutes because I did a class where I recorded a 5-video series that was under 40 minutes. So I know that you can get it up and running as long as you have your idea. But this page here that I wanted to share is this one is where the app that we'll be using, you literally need your phone and the app in order to start your own podcast. This app will automatically syndicate to all 8 of these sites where you can listen to your podcast. I prefer Overcast. That's where I listen to all my podcasts. It's basically where you can keep your own library. It's just an app. You select who you want to listen to, and they'll update every day, every time you do it. I subscribe to my own podcast. I don't always listen to them, but what I do is I will make sure that it gets syndicated. So after I release my podcast, it'll send me a message after, maybe 30 minutes later saying that it's been syndicated at that point. So it's a good way to, if you want to send people to where they can listen to it, this is where it can happen. Second here. All right. So first of all, I want to have you guys give yourselves a hand because this is a little more out of the box type thinking of doing this. I went to Grant Cardone probably like 2 months ago now. And he basically said, you can't change your life if you don't change your environment. And this is one of those things of changing your environment is that most people, as we talked about before, anybody who wasn't on earlier, a little over an hour ago, I'm in this Facebook group and somebody asked for the second time in 2 or 3 days, what would you do if you went to a new, you moved cities and you went to a new town and you didn't know anybody there, what would you do? And most everybody says postcards, like more mailers. Somebody said, grab your phone book. A person responded to them like, what's a phone book? And just start like hassling people right away. Well, when you have a podcast, like my suggestion was start a podcast, interview people in that community, and give something of value right away. As real estate agents, we are kind of known for asking before we're even giving back. You know, what is it? The best compliment you can give is a referral. Not making fun of anybody who has that in their signature, because I know that you may have that in there, but you're asking for something right away. And one of the benefits of a podcast is that people get to know you. Why people don't like to be called or door knocked is because you are talking to them at your convenience, not at theirs. When they find your podcast at 3 a.m. and they run into all your stuff, they're listening to you on their terms. They're getting to know you on their terms. So they're more receptive to who you are and getting to know who your character is. So that's one of the reasons the podcast to me is so powerful. But the idea of this is going to be very simple. The easiest ways you can get crazy with it. There's people I'm sure you listen to people's podcasts that are amazing, super produced. Doesn't have to be that way. I was with Jeff and Lynn in Mexico 2 months ago, and I recorded the podcast from the beach from my phone. Like, set expectations, let them know what's going to happen, and give it to them. But here's a quick little video. It's about 2 minutes long, but it's Gary Vee. And this is back in 2008 that he's talking about the media company and how much power we have right now as far as being able to get in front of people. So come on, Gary. There you go.
So, I live in a different world than a lot of you who are probably watching this, because many of the people that actually watch this are very heavily into the Web 2.0 internet business. I actually am part of the old world of business, right? I deal in the business and deal with a lot of old school advertisers and business people, executives. And so I get my fair share of spending a lot of time with people in that 40 and over demo. And a lot of the talk right now is about how this trend.
Can everybody hear that?
Hey, Brandon, I couldn't hear anything. I could just see it.
You can hear it? Okay. All right. Well, we'll skip that. Anyways, he's basically just saying that everyone's a media company now. And they are basically saying that you can turn your phone into your media company. It's not, I don't know what it would cost 10 years ago or back 12 years ago in 2008 to get a radio spot. But he's basically saying that you can be, you're your own media company. Everybody on Facebook has their own channel. That's their channel that people can tune into. So basically saying that you can't just turn it off and be like, he says, there's no one guy that's for the chicks, one guy that does business. He's like, they're all mixed now, and the true you will come out, and you have to decide who that true you is. But yeah, so that's basically what he's saying, and backing the idea of why it's beneficial to become a content creator, whether it's a podcast or YouTube, or a video vlog, whatever. But here's the biggest thing I think that I want to get across, because most of us in here are in the real estate business. And when we think of podcast, everything that we think that we're doing, we want to do real estate wise. And the point here is that you are not, if you only advertise yourself as a real estate agent, you're going to be kind of stuck. Like, certain skills, I'm a firm believer in learning skills that transcend whatever industry that you're in. And here's the reason why. So I heard someone say the other day, they've been to more real estate retirement or funerals for real estate agents than they have been to retirement parties for them. So it's two things it tells me. Real estate agents aren't really set up for retirement, but number two, even more important, that agents will likely create a revenue stream, either in addition to or replace your real estate business. So if you're constantly making, like if you're the door knocking champion and that's what you do, if nobody knows who you are and you go to shift gears into a different industry, or even if you're staying in real estate, but starting maybe, a side hustle at some point, if people don't know who you are, you're gonna have to build that audience back up. And does everybody know who Dave Asprey is? Or not Dave Asprey. That's a Bulletproof Coffee guy. Dave Ramsey, sorry. Yeah. So Dave Ramsey, he's not a real estate agent, but what he does is he takes his audience that he's created in the financial world and says, hey, you should go buy real estate now. That's the next step for you. You should buy it from this person here, who happens to be an agent that I've approved, who now I can make money off of. But people will listen to him because he's built his character of who he is. Same thing with Tony Robbins. If he wrote Tony Robbins wrote a book about this coffee mug. Like people would buy it tomorrow just because it's Tony Robbins. So this is your ability to create your audience that will follow you, whether you're selling homes, whether you're building a team, whether you're starting your own brokerage, or whether you're going out completely, you start a sticker business or whatever, but people will follow you because they've got a chance to know who you are, not just necessarily about real estate. Does anybody have any questions yet about podcasts, what they are? Everyone knows what podcasts are, right? It's basically an on-demand radio show. You can listen to it whenever you want, download it, listen to as many episodes as you can, as long as they're out there. So here are the two main reasons that I've gotten from people that are afraid to start a podcast. One, they say they're not that interesting. And what's funny is about 3 years ago, I was hanging out with a friend at his house at a barbecue, and I was talking to him. I've known him for a little over 2 years at that point. Our daughters played soccer together. And as we're talking, he tells me, yeah, when I was 26, I played tackle football, and he goes, I was going to the gym like 3 days a week. I was out playing tackle football, and I got tackled around the neck, and I didn't think anything of it. But 3 days later, he had a blood clot and he had a stroke. He basically, at 26 years old, he had to learn how to walk. He was paralyzed from the neck down, had to learn how to walk, talk, eat, all that stuff. It took him like a year to recover. And I was like, what? And you wouldn't know now. And I go, what? And this was the first podcast I had. And I asked him asked him if he'd be on my podcast. And he goes, no. I go, well, why not? It's an amazing story. He's like, no, I'm not that interesting. I was like, were you here for the same story that you just told me? So everyone has a story. I firmly believe that. And also the number two reason is I'm not techie. Like I said, you can have your podcast up. It's an app. If you can operate your phone, you can do it. And that's, like I said, two things that I really want to let people know in this podcast. I want to I want to demystify the process because it's very easy. And also number two, show you how to do it for cheap, relatively cheap, and even free. And as you move forward, remember this, I will show you my podcast artwork, and I leave it there. I haven't had it professionally designed because I leave it there for a reason. But done is better than perfect. I can't tell you how many times that I've shelved an idea and it's still sitting on the shelf right now because I never quite got it perfect. And when it's not perfect, we tend to not put it out there because we're worried about being judged. No one cares. Get it out there. Make sure that it's out there. It's done, and then adjust to it as you get going. So again, here it is. Podcast. What are they? On-demand radio show. On-demand radio show. Audio only. It's not video. And the reason that I say this is because I get many people that say, "Hey, I watched your podcast the other day." Well, it's audio. It's not video. You can't watch it. You can hear it. But also people think that they have to be in front of the camera as well. You can. There's certain ways that you can do. I'll show you guys here in a minute a YouTube video of or just a screenshot of the video interview that I shot through Zoom. That you can take that audio and put it as your podcast, and you can have a video version of it too. So you have two pieces of content from one interview. So here's the different types of podcasts. I've had three. My first one was an interview-based podcast. That one is very beneficial for a couple reasons. One is that your content is essentially created for you as you are interviewing guests. And this one is the one that I recommended to the people going into a new market. If you go in and start interviewing local business owners and they start sharing your name and you start basically you're giving them you're sharing you're borrowing their audience and they are putting you out in front of their audience. So each time you're gaining a new audience. So there's plus and minus to this. One is the reason that I quit my interview-based podcast was because I had six interviewees cancel on me consecutively. So all of a sudden I was without a show. And so that was very, very hard for me. The other thing is when you do get different audiences, if you don't tie in some of your own stuff in there where it's not 100% about the guest, then you only have like a one-time guest because they are one-time listener because they listen, the interviewee sends out to their sphere or their audience of, hey, this is a podcast I was just on. But if they just one-time listeners, it's kind of tough to keep them on there. So that's the good and bad. You get the audience, but they also can kind of be a moving target as well. Single host statistics and updates. That would be, more real estate related. Hey, this is what's going on in this market, 89148. These are the homes, this is the median price, all that. That's a little bit more forward. Storytelling and storytelling and using that to build a following, telling stories. So I had been writing I think it was 168 straight days I wrote short stories on Facebook. And so what I did was I started reading those, and this was the storytelling one. So I read them word for word. The reason I stopped that one is because I realized how bad I was at reading out loud. And I was like, this sounds terrible, because I was literally reading the story that I wrote for Facebook on there. I'm just giving people another option to do that. So now the style that I'm in now is kind of a combination of the journal and the storytelling. My podcast is, I do it Monday through Friday. I actually do a combination of 3 now, because I just started adding guests as well. So the one I do now is journal. It is, yes, Julie. Sorry, I just got a question here. Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of explaining now, is that you can do all of you can mix all of these together, but make sure that you know your target. You're not even a demographic range. Find yourself the avatar of the person that you're looking for. So the avatar is specific. Like, this guy's name is Kevin. He's 37 years old. He gets mad when people don't put their shopping carts back. And he likes, the Florida Marlins. Like, that type of person that you'd want to target it very specifically, because, when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing no one. So just make sure that you are consistent on that. And so the journal aspect of it is I'm, building an attractive character through my journey. So my podcast is made up of 3 things. There's 3 pillars to it. One, it's to document the growth, or document my journey to grow an international real estate team. Number 2 is the idea to learn with the intent to teach someone else. Number 3 is to find my voice for someone who's looking for it. Now, the first 2 can probably change for everybody, but the last one, I would highly suggest that be something you're doing every time you're putting out an episode. You are putting out something that is going to help someone in some way that is looking for what you have. Because I strongly believe that we all have something that somebody is looking for. So here's some kind of cool stats of who listens to podcasts. There are a couple here that really stand out to me. Like 45% of listeners are more likely to make $250,000 or more. So if we are looking for clients, it would be nice to find people that are making $250,000. I don't know if anybody else is looking for those type of clients as far as selling homes to. But your reach is to people that are looking to be educated and looking to learn about you. The other aspect is the 94% of listeners are active on at least one other social media platform. And that's beneficial too, because you can reach them twice. They talk about the 33 touch, or, however many times you have to touch somebody. Well, usually when we hear about that, it's an email, it's a call, it is a drop by, it's all that stuff. But here you can be touching them without being forced upon them. They don't have to open your email. If you end up being on Facebook with them and they're scrolling through and they hit something that you are sharing, they have the opportunity to seek you out instead of you like bombarding them. So it gives you the opportunity to attract people as opposed to chase them down. So here again, we kind of touched on a couple of these things already, but why create a podcast? You're going to build relationships and audience. And again, I'll bring up 3 a.m. because people will listen to podcasts randomly whenever. But again, repeat touches, differentiation. This will set you apart from somebody else. Just like in that Facebook group that I was just in, everyone was saying like the same things over and over again. And then I put in host a podcast and I got 3 or 4 messages directly, and people trying to connect with me on Facebook, because that was something different than something and that's not even me doing a podcast. It's just me saying you should do one because it's that much different. And the same thing, I'm not sure if anybody else has had this happen before, but I've been at parties or barbecues or at the bar or something. People are like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, well, I'm a real estate agent. And like, oh, kind of like waiting to be pitched, have somebody say that. I've also been at parties where they go, hey, what do you do? Well, I actually host a podcast. And they go, oh, really? What's that? Like, either they don't know what a podcast is, or they want to learn what my podcast is about. But it gives you the opportunity to talk about something more than just like real estate. For me, it's something I do. It's not who I am. It's something that I do. And when I say that I host a podcast, people are I've been introduced to people as a podcast host. I think I said this to Don the other day. I'm not signing any babies or anything. I'm not super like famous or anything like that, but people know that I'm bringing some other value than just a free CMA. So the other thing is creating repurposable content. Like I said earlier, you can record you can do a video, and you can take that and put that video on YouTube. You can take you can basically extract the audio from that, put that as your podcast. You can take that audio, send it to someplace like Temi or Otter or Rev, have them transcribe it, and you can turn that into a blog. So now you have 3 pieces of content from your 3 ways people can read it. Also, I use another app called Headliner app, where I'll do a short video, like a trailer with captions in there, closed captions, so that people can read it. Because most of the time people are like in the office or at the doctor's, waiting room or something like that, and they're scrolling through Facebook, but they can't listen because they don't want to disturb anybody, but they can read those things. But that's different ways that you can repurpose it. Again, creating an attractive character. Your podcast never sleeps, gets sick, or goes on vacation. So if you aren't feeling well today and you're trying to tell somebody the story, and you can actually send people to your podcast. I've had people ask me, like, why should I want to work with you? And I said, hey, here's a link to my podcast. If you want to get to know me, this is where you can get to know me. Let it do the heavy lifting for you, instead of trying to convince people over and over again. And you can really leverage your content this way. Does anybody know what net is? Has anybody heard that term? No extra time. Can you all still hear me? Okay. So Tony Robbins talks about no extra time, and it's about when you're able to do things. I guess it could be considered multitasking in a way, but for instance, video is great. And I usually get people that ask about video and want to do video and ask if this is better than video. I don't think it's better than video. I think that it has some significant strengths over video, in the way that when you have no extra time, when you're working out or you're driving, you have no extra time. You're listening to a podcast while you're driving. Like, it's very tough, and you shouldn't be watching a video while you're driving, but you can listen to a podcast while you're driving. And again, you can create authority. And here, again, we're going to talk about how to create authority with a podcast. So people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Is that pretty accurate? Would everyone agree with that? So how do you get them to know, like, and trust you if you're meeting them online? I mean, we can all say how great our website is and how functional it is, and we have this feature and that feature. But the reality is, most everyone, all buyers and sellers, they don't know what site they're on, and yours looks just like, the other 10 that they've just been on. Like, what did I say? 6 on here? Yeah. So they've been on six so far. But if you create something like a podcast that maybe you put on that page, or maybe you send them to something like that, you can differentiate yourself more so than someone else. Because half the lead, does anybody know the average percentage of online lead, like, conversion rate? It's like 2 to 3%. Yeah, 3%, right, Don? So 3%, 3 years ago, 3% was like, oh yeah, that's about average. Well, now it's like 3% you're doing good, 2%, and 1% in some cases, people are saying that's average. And the reason being is, like I said, that one person goes into Google, they go, homes for sale in Las Vegas. And they click on it, they land on a site, they look at a few homes, they have to register, so they register. Mickey Mouse at fu.com or some random name, right? I've gotten that one before, so I didn't make that one up. But they've done that 6 times now. So when they're ready, you just and they're on drip system, campaign drips from 6 agents. They're getting the same, some of them are the same thing because they have the same website that they belong to, and they keep getting the same thing. How do you differentiate with that? You're spamming them with drips. But also you can stay on top of mind without begging for deals, because again, you are in front of them. They know there's no rules against you saying, hey, putting in your own commercial in your podcast, and letting people know that you are a real estate agent. I'm not saying completely abandon that, but you're in front of them without just saying, hey, buy with me, buy with me, buy with me. You're giving them something of value. Also, don't waste money and time with postcards and cold calling. again, if you do these things, you can do this in addition to, if you're sending out a postcard in your podcast, say, hey, just wanted to let you know, keep your eyes on your mailbox. I have a postcard, a special offer coming for you, or special offer coming to you. But that way you can use it in connection with you sending out postcards. Again, the reason I put this one on is some people, if I offend people, I'm sorry, because we're trained in kind of a certain way that we end up doing the same. Everyone's doing the same thing and kicking it out. But the same template and info, you're not sending that out as everyone else. And the reason that I say that is I was on LinkedIn like 3 months ago, and I was scrolling through, and I'm a big fan of creating your own content and getting people to follow you on that content. I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, this is a great article. I'm going to save this for later because I don't really feel like reading the whole thing right now. So I'm scrolling through. That same article popped up again. I was like, what? Popped up again, popped up again, popped up again. So now I have connections on LinkedIn that I am all sharing. They're all sharing the same story. And so I go, all right. So guess what? I didn't even read the story. I was like, that wasn't, it turned me completely off. But the thing is, people are subscribing. They're going to these places that will pay, $30-$40 a month, and they'll give you your content to post out, which is fine if you can find one that not everybody else is using, because you're going to end up just like that. All those people, I had no interest in what they had to say at that point because it was just the same thing. So again, and you'll see me repeat a couple things in here because I believe them. You can build relationships by letting your podcast do the heavy lifting. Again, 3 a.m., somebody stumbled upon you. And this, again, is a way that your podcast can do the heavy lifting for you. We're taught mostly to do one-to-one communication. We are on a single phone call. We're knocking on one door at a time. And when you're done knocking, you're not knocking anymore. So you're not making that connection. So for right now, I think Jeff said there were 14 people on the call. There might be a couple more, couple less now. But right now I am talking to 14 people about doing a podcast. This is an example of one to many. This is not me going each to individual one showing, hey, this is how you do a podcast. And so now 1 hour can reach 14 people. If this class is an hour long and I want to reach 14 people in a one-to-one communication, I have to do it. That's 14 hours. I'd like to say that I do it and I'd have the drive to do it, but I don't know that I have 14 hours in me to do this one-on-one over and over again of this same thing. So again, your podcast is working even when you aren't. So basically here's all you need right here is your microphone, which is your phone. It can be your headset here. I use the ATR 2100, and that's this mic right here. And the reason I use it is for 2 reasons. It's probably gonna get choppy here. But the reason that I use this microphone is because I have if you understand like audio at all, there's an XLR, which most microphones are. And if you can see the bottom, do you see those 3 pins? There's the circle with 3 pins inside. So that one is a regular XLR where you're going to have converters and stuff like that to use it. Since I record on an app, this mic was like $60-$70. And if you see right here where I'm actually plugged in, that's the USB. So I can plug it directly into my computer. I don't have to worry about going through a mixer or anything like that. Let me get this back in here. That's why I use that. Here's some optional things. The YouTube music, royalty-free music. This is a link right here to where you can go get your free music, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Editing softwares, you can use ScreenFlow for Mac, Audacity, as I think for both, and Camtasia is for PC. Canva is where I did my designed my cover art. Royalty-free images, Pexels.com, Pixabay.com, Unsplash.com, and some other ones. And the Bitly URL shortener. The reason that I use that is because you can get some long URLs when you're sharing it, and you can also name yours. So recently I named one for an interview that I did, which if anybody knows anybody suffering from depression or anything like that, I would definitely listen to it because Scott out of Houston shared some awesome information on it. But it was episode 181, Change or Die is what I named it. So it was bit.ly.com / episode 181, Change or Die, I think it was. But this is everything above this is all that you need to get started. And I'll show you real quickly on how to do that. Does anybody have any questions right now? Nothing? Okay. So I'll show you a couple things here. In a second. What is happening? There we go. So for instance, when I was talking about the video that you can do, this is what your Zoom would look like right here. So here's the interview that I did with Eric Verdi. It's 25 minutes long. And I'll actually talk about this real briefly as well too. Like as far as rules go, as far as how long your episode should be, there's different thoughts on it. I originally started doing it where I wanted to be between 25 and 30 minutes, my episodes. And the reason that I wanted that was because in Vegas, you can pretty much get everywhere you're trying to go in 15 to 30 minutes or one way. So you can listen to the podcast in one round trip. And because certain things like Joe Rogan, I love Joe Rogan's podcast, but the challenge is his episodes are like 3 hours long and I can't listen to everyone. So I have to pick and choose who I listen to. So that's why I wanted to do it 30 minutes. But really the rule should be whatever your audience is expecting. Manage expectations and set them up for what they're about to hear. I mentioned that I recorded from the ocean a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. And what I do is I let people know if the audio quality is going to be down so they can understand like, okay, this is what I can expect. So I'll let them know if I'm recording from the car, I'll say, hey, coming from Studio B, AKA the car. I did Studio O, the ocean, because you can hear the waves crashing behind me. But if somebody doesn't know that and they might hear like, what's going on with that? What is that sound type of thing? So that's the only thing I would do is make sure that they are, that their expectations are managed. And if you are going to do my podcast I do now called Learn for Two, I do Monday through Friday. And the episodes are between 8 and 15 minutes long. And if I'm saying that I'm doing it Monday through Friday, I'm doing it Monday through Friday. If I say I'm doing it once a week or once every 2 weeks, do it once every week or every 2 weeks. Don't come out and say we're going to do once a week and then launch 3 next week. Don't do anything for a month and then come back. Like the consistency. So 2 rules I would say would be manage expectations and keep it consistent. If it's going to be a long podcast, the depression podcast that interview, that was 1 hour and 25 minutes. Because he just had way too much stuff to quit letting him talk. So what I did is I broke it up in 2. So they're 45 minutes long, but at the beginning, at the intro, I say, hey, this is kind of long. We broke it up into 2 episodes because it was that good. And also the way to break it up in 2 episodes, you get the chance to, get return listeners as well as far as strategy goes. But this is basically what I did. I recorded a Zoom call, and this is extra stuff that is a little bit deeper. So if anybody wants to get into more depth on how to get their podcast going and different things they can do to market it and get it out in front of people, this is one thing that this is like $45 a month for me to add all this stuff on here. But you don't have to do that. You can just go here. I'm recording a Zoom call, take the audio from the Zoom call and put it into your podcast. And they can watch it or they can view it. So here I'm going to show you real quickly. So this is Anchor. Anchor.fm is the site that I use. And this is the account that I use to show people how to set it up. But when you get set up, Anchor.fm, you go and you put your name, email, and you have an account. It's that easy. So you come in here and it's going to tell you what to do, basically walk you through how to set it up. So once you get in, I've already done the first step, so they took that one away. But once you get in, what you want to do, so this is from the last class I had, you're going to go to update settings. So I love Kat's podcast, but in honor of the greatest documentary ever made that is taking the world by storm right now, we're going to call this the Tiger King podcast. And so this is how easy it is to create your own. I put Canva in there because I created this. And when I say done is better than perfect, this Learn for Two right here, I created that in Canva. It took me 45 minutes. And the reason was you can sub it out to Fiverr. Dawn and I talked about that. You can do Fiverr, Upwork. You can send all this stuff out for other people to make for you. But my plan is to show agents how they can do it for free, essentially. So Canva's free. I created this for free. My YouTube channel is free. The only thing I paid for on this was to be able to edit the page. But this Learn for Two, I did that. I was kind of proud of myself. 45 minutes. Like, my cousin's a graphic designer for Microsoft, and he'd probably throw up if he saw it. But you know, I show my kids, and they're like, "Oh, Dad, that's cool, but what's Learn for Z?" I'm like, "All right, well, no, it's it's not a Z, it's a 2." But anyways, it's that easy to get that done. You can do that in Canva if you've ever used it. You go in and you get the sizing. You go in and type in, create your own, create the dimensions. So come back here. So now I've changed it to the Tiger King podcast. So I'll save that real quick, and it will update here shortly. But the cool thing here is where you can actually change your cover art, search for a photo. They have a ton of stuff in here. And this is just if you want to get it up right now. So we're going to get some tigers. There you go. We'll just take that one. And you can move it around. Obviously, it's pretty limited. It's not as versatile as Canva, but this is if you just want to get something up. So now we have the, Tiger King podcast. You can choose where you want to put it, top, bottom, center, the type of font. That you want to use. And if you want to change the color to purple, I guess. But now you update that, and you created your art in like less than a minute. So it's that simple to get things up and running. And believe me, people aren't really going to care about your artwork. I mean, maybe if it stands out on a bunch of different podcasts that they're looking for, but our goal is to get in front of our clients or potential clients and share information with them. And they're likely not going to go through and go, "Oh, I don't like that artwork, I'm not going to listen to it," unless you do something really offensive on there. But here you can do, what you can do is, this is my first podcast, you get to update your description. What is it about? Oh, maybe we should change it to podcasts for Joe Exotic. But anyway, so here is your link right here that you would take you to. You can link to another site, your name, your email, and this is different places that you can send it here as well. You can turn on voice messages, and that means people can leave voice messages on your podcast page. So you can just go back to your dashboard, and this is kind of where, hopefully that saved that, and I wasn't logged out too long. Yeah, so this would be your public site right here. Now somebody could leave a message right here if they wanted to, and you'll have all your episodes that will be on a scroll right here. So right now I have 182 on my Learn for Two podcast, so they'll all be right in here. And then you can share it, have people come back to this, and like I said, they'll all be sent back to these 8 right here. So it'll obviously be on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Most everyone listens to one of these, but you can also, if you want to go in deeper, like I said, you can syndicate it wherever. But all you'll do is you'll take this episode, you want to share. Actually, since we do have a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to create an episode too. So right here, you'll hit create an episode you can record, and you'll just do something like this. So make sure that you have the right mic on too, because in that interview with Scott, I didn't check this, and we interviewed, and it automatically defaulted to my internal microphone. So there was you could hear as I would talk through my computer instead of my microphone. So you want to go select the ATR 2100, and I would do something like this. Hey guys, welcome back. Learn for Two podcast. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Today, we are talking about the Tiger King, Joe Exotic, for our new podcast, the Tiger King podcast. So that's what you do. It'll take a second here to get it going. But even when you record from your phone, from the app on your phone, download the Anchor app, and you hit record, as soon as that's saved on your phone, it shows up in your segments. So all you'll do here is add that to the episode. So I'm not sure if you guys are gonna be able to hear this or not. I'll try to turn it up so hopefully you can hear it through my mic. But this is what it would sound like. Hey guys, welcome back to the Learn for Two podcast. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you as always for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Today we are talking about the Tiger King, Joe Exotic, for our new podcast, the Tiger King podcast. Okay, so now you've entered that now. And if you've already recorded, like for me, I have already recorded an intro, and I'll play that for you in a minute. And that one is a little more in depth, but with what you can do for free on Anchor is you come over here, you add background music. Let's say, let's do something cheerful. Let's cheer everybody up. You go over here and listen to a couple things. So we'll just say, we'll do the Zeppelin. So now look at, it's 13 seconds right now is how long that was. Now it's 21 seconds. So Anchor automatically took that music, and what they're going to do is add to the beginning and fade away towards the end. So I'll play that same thing, but now it's added music to it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Learn for Two podcast. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you as always for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Today we are talking about the Tiger King, Joe Exotic, for our new podcast, the Tiger King podcast. So you can have your intro, you can have it played. I mean, you can do all that from here. It's not super difficult. But you can, they do it for you. Now, what I did on mine, and I'll be honest, I went to audio engineering school back in like 2001. I forgot way more than I ever learned. But I have enough to where I use ScreenFlow to do mine. But I did go to this YouTube library. So this song that I grabbed from YouTube library, and it's the same thing that you can do. And also, again, like Don and I talked about, we talked about doing this with Fiverr. Record your intro, send it to somebody in Fiverr and say, hey, I want upbeat music, put to this. So we'll do, so let's see if I can type in upbeat. Oops. So this again is free YouTube right here. So you can use any of these. So if you wanted to take Mr. T, whoa. So you can take any of that and then you download it and then you can make it your own. So for instance, let me go to, so Overcast, this is where I listen to my podcast. So there's Learn for Two, there's mine. So this is yesterday's episode, and this is, hold on a second. This is, sorry. So here's what I did for this one. And I did, so right now I have an intro and an outro recorded. And so I just add the intro, add my, my episode, and then add the outro afterwards. So here's this. And you're listening to the Learn for Two podcast. So here's the thing. After being in the real estate industry for over a decade, I realized the old model was broken. There's no way out, no end in sight. So I decided to ditch the masses and create my own opportunity. One that would put myself and others in a position to retire when we want to. This podcast is my journey to teach as many people as possible to do the same. My name is Brandon DeVere, and welcome to the Learn for Two podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Learn for Two podcast. So then that basically is the transition that it has to go straight into. So we'll go back over here, and I don't think I have any. So that was a different intro. But basically that is the kind of the easiest way to get going. You could, like I said, you can get completely crazy with it, or you can do everything that I showed you in Anchor right there is something that you can do to, like, everyone can have a podcast up today. And the number one thing that I suggest doing is doing about a 2 to 3 minute trailer for your very first episode. Understand who you want to talk to, what your podcast is going to be about, and it can change as well. Just to give you an idea, because mine was more real estate related, and then now it's more into learning things for other people from when I first started. So it can change. And one of the things that I use this for, when I say a journal, I use this for my kids. So in 20, 30, 40 years, they can go back and listen to what I thought at a young age. Like, I lost my mom when I was 18, and she was sick from about the time I was 12. And I would love to know what she was thinking on like some random July afternoon in 1984. And so that's what I use this for as well. And it gives me a chance to let people know who I am. So it's not all about, hey, I sold this home the other day. Or this is what the market is like, and why I think it's such a big opportunity. And one of the quotes that is basically has driven me to do this is this by Russell Brunson from Expert Secrets. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend getting it. It's pretty much my Bible. That's not a bookmark. That is multiple bookmarks. There's writings all over in it. And he is basically changed the way that I viewed my overall business and why I do this. He says there are people today that need what you have, and they're just waiting for you to find your voice so you can help them change their lives. What a tragedy for them if you don't find your voice now. And I believe everybody in here has a voice that somebody's looking for. And one story that I'll end with this real quick. And then if anybody has any questions, we can go on that. But I have a friend of mine, and her daughter has this condition that they have to check an app every day. Even before now, they had to check an app every day to see if she can go outside because they call it the MTHFR disease. So they call it the mother effer disease. And so she is finding out so she's been the last few years, everything is organic. She tells me, Brandon, I wish that we could go to McDonald's. Not because she wants McDonald's. She wishes that she has that option because every meal has to be cooked from scratch because of this condition that her daughter has. And I said, please start the Mother Effer podcast, because somebody today is finding out right now that that's their new life. And how wonderful would have been for you to have that story and learn that at that time when you just found out. And also kind of transition into a story for myself. I hadn't been sharing as much as I thought I was until a few months ago. My son, he's 7 years old, in the first grade, and he started experiencing some significant anxiety where since October 29th, we've had him back to school for 3 full days. That's it since October. And we were getting like 15 minutes. It was like, sweet, we got him back for 15 minutes. We got him back to an hour. Just before this whole all hit, he got in for a half day, and the following Wednesday was going to be his first full day back. And then now they're not in school. But I wasn't sharing that story because I was embarrassed. I thought that I was a terrible father. I thought that I was like, I can't even get my own kid to school. This is embarrassing. I didn't want to share it. But then I was like, you know what? There's somebody that's going to listen to this in a few years or in a few months that's going to go, I'm having this issue with my son or my daughter, and I don't know what to do. Well, this guy went through it, and this is the stuff that he did. I may not be right, but I can be relatable to somebody who's going to go, I don't know what to do. So that's what I say. I'm not airing out dirty laundry or anything like that, but I'm being vulnerable to a point where people, and you'll find this, excuse me, you'll find this out is that when you start giving your content like that, people are going to start rooting for you. I can't tell you how many people on Facebook, when I posted stories of him, a couple of videos, a band sent an autographed CD to him because one of their songs helped him kind of get out of the funk. And all of a sudden we have people that are rooting for him and saying, well, way to go, Camden, good job. And they're all in this fight with me, and they're rooting for me. They're rooting for my son, and they're becoming a part of our lives, and they've never even met you before. So that's why I feel it's very powerful to give people some real content and not just throwing out what's your home worth type stuff. There's way more. We're all more complex than that. And the other thing is that many people, in Vegas, it's about 5 to 7 years when people move. I know they're like in Hawaii, New York, some other places like that, it's like 13, 14 years. So if you're always talking about real estate, you're relevant to these people for every 5 to 7 years, 13 years. So give them something to relate to you on. So that's pretty much what I have for you. Is there anybody have any questions on anything?
Can you guys unmute yourself if you have a question? Hold on a second. You can use the chat. You should be able to unmute yourself if you want to talk. I don't think I have it on lockdown.
Don, I think if you go to your bottom left, I think there should be, or top right, sorry. If you hover over your screen on the top right.
DL, you're raising your hand. Let me figure out how to unmute you guys, sorry.
So you have control of that?
Apparently. I didn't unmute audio.
Let me see. I'm trying to look here if I can unmute anybody, but I think I just have. Don, if you try to on your picture, on the picture of, or actually no, maybe not on you. Yeah, I think on yourself. If you hover to your right hand corner, there'd be 3 blue dots.
Yep, I'm kind of going through and I'm clicking unmute, but it's not working.
Okay, can you hear
DL,
me
are you
now?
unmuted?
Yep.
You got me?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, freedom. Fruler. Hey, I have a couple of quick questions for you. So are you saying from the Anchor app, can we syndicate from there? I mean, that's where we can send it to all the other spots?
So from Anchor, it automatically sends it to these 8 spots.
Okay.
Automatically. Okay. Now, if you want to get, there's certain things like Podbean, there is Libsyn, like Liberated Syndicate. Now that is those are paid platforms, so you can send out to a lot more. These are the 8 that come with this. Okay. And this is like, again, for the purpose of this class, is everything is like super simple and cheap.
Yeah.
For
And
people
one more thing, the Zoom border. So that's part, you have to do a paid membership with Zoom to be able to craft a border.
Like this one here?
Yes.
No, so that isn't through Zoom. So everything other than the artwork on there is all free. This is Screencast-O-Matic that allows me to upload that video and then put overlays in the like the episode, I mean, you can do, it's pretty cool, Screencast-O-Matic. I mean, it's a little clunky because it is pretty cheap, but it's, $45 for the year, I think it was. But when you click on, like, you can have things like jump in, you can put how long they're in there for, basically, as opposed to just, it's not just stamped on there the whole time. So if Eric mentioned a website that he wanted to talk about, I could have it pop up for like 4 or 5 seconds and then drop back down and then just leave this here. So it's pretty versatile, but that's not through Zoom. It's called Screencast-O-Matic.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, Brandon, you said that was $45 a year?
Yeah, I believe it was 45. I mean, I got the free trial and then it was fine until I did over 15 minutes. And then it was like $45 for the year. But I mean, it's pretty well spent because it's pretty easy to learn. It's just a little clunky. So you just got to kind of be patient with it. I know there's other stuff out there that is, you can use like Adobe. There are a couple different things that are pretty, a little more expensive, but
Right.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes.
I just found the unmute all button, so you guys should be able to talk.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was trying to deal with that unmuting situation while somebody else was asking the same question, so I apologize if you were answering it. And I think the question was, okay, so once you create it, the Anchor will put it out. Mm-hmm. Where else? How do you get it out? That's my big question. I can create all this great stuff, but then how do I get it to an audience?
So what you want to do, and again, this is something, I mean, I can show you outside of class as well, because it's kind of limited to this. Okay. But when you go to your, let me do this actually. When you go to your, you have a link for every single episode that you have.
Okay.
So let me actually log in. So when you go to your episodes, you'll go right here and you can copy a link to the episode.
Okay.
Now, if you want to share that specific episode, that's what you'll do. So that would be episode 1, welcome to the podcast. So now you can share this to everybody. So what I also talk about is, so Overcast does a shortened link as well. Cause you can see that right there, right? They do a shortened version. But once you have your episode up, this would be, actually that's not too long. So you can be fine with that. But you would just share this. So if you wanted to go to Facebook, you would go say, hey, come listen to my new episode. It's about this. I would give a brief description, put it into Facebook. You can send it in. I would put this in your signature of your overall podcast, put founder, host of Tiger King podcast, with your podcast art, and make that a link. So you can share that every time. But then also each individual episode, you can take that link and share it wherever else you want. If you do a weekly email, if you're doing a weekly podcast and you want to do a weekly email, if you want to do it, post it in a Facebook group, post it on Instagram, post it wherever you want to text it to somebody. And something that, and I forgot about this, but how powerful this can be is I mention people on my podcast all the time, and I send it to them and I say, hey, just wanted to let you know, I thought about you in today's podcast. So I mentioned it to you. Like if you have a lead that maybe you just met and they're kind of on the fence or whatever, like what better way to solidify that relationship with them by talking about them in your podcast, and then you give it to them, because what are they going to do? They're going to turn around and share it with everybody else.
Right.
But what I would do, you can share this link anywhere. You can share a link. You can share your episode, or you can share the overall thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So Brandon, I have a question. Maybe you said this and I missed it. Well, what if somebody's created video or content outside of Anchor? Can that just be uploaded in there to syndicate?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I did with my intro and outro. So I created that in ScreenFlow, and also in that same thing I was talking about earlier, the Screencast-O-Matic, you can actually rip or just export the audio only from that video, and then you can download it. It gets a little tricky though, because I think they only take MP3 and WAV files for Anchor. So, and they kick out like a WAV or MP4.3 or something. I can't remember what it is. But what happens is it'll be in the wrong format. So you may have to upload it to another converter or to YouTube, and then YouTube will kick it out to where you can drop it in here. But for instance, like here in my library, so when I made my podcast yesterday, this is where I would just go, hey guys, this is Brandon DeVere. Thank you for tuning in. Learn for Two podcast. Appreciate you and your time. So now I'd create that, but what I would do as soon as this loads up, so this is what I created in here. So I just click that to add to the episode. And then what I want to do is I'll just type in intro. It'll search for my intro that I've already made. That's in my library. I'll add that. And then I will add my outro, and you can just drag and drop to put in place. So now here is that intro that I created outside of Anchor. Sometimes it messes with you a little bit. But now, since we already heard this intro, it'll do this and automatically line it up for you, hopefully. But yeah, both this intro and outro were created outside of Anchor. I just uploaded it, and I'll show you here in just a second. Oh yeah, so click to upload or drop audio here. So you can go grab an audio file. Let's say you got to download the audio file. Let's do this. I'm going to download this one right here. So Mr. T, if you can see that, Mr. T MP3 right there. So I would go over here to Anchor, and I just grab this.
Okay,
and add it to there. And now it's uploading. Did you see that?
Mm.
Yeah.
So it'll take a second to upload because it's a couple minutes long. And of course, so sometimes it does do this where it keeps kicking it around. But you'll see how I place those in order of how to play.
Mhm.
and it's thinking.
And what is this service you use to make your intro and outro?
ScreenFlow is the one that I used for that. Audacity and Camtasia are available for PC. ScreenFlow is Mac only, I think. But yeah, so now you can see.
I've lost you, audio.
Me
Yeah,
too.
Brandon, I don't hear you or see you anymore. Brandon, I don't think we can hear you.
Did we lose him?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
I see his name on there. I'm going to text him. I let him know by text. He said, okay, 1 second. So he must be changing something. I can see your video, Brandon, but still can't hear you.
I wonder if it went to one of his headsets he's got plugged in.
What was the name of that mic you use again, Brandon? I think that USB fell out of the back of
I think it did too.
it.
I love your kitchen ceiling.
What's
You got
that?
it. I love your kitchen ceiling.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I told my contractor I wanted to put distressed wood on the ceiling in there to find that space, and he said that's way too expensive. I'll make you some.
There you go.
So he
It's
made me
gorgeous.
distressed wood out of new wood.
I love it. It's a
You
nice
still not
touch.
hear me?
Oh, there you are, Brandon.
Okay. All right. I don't know what happened there. But
You
okay.
did something that fixed it, so you're back.
All right. Do you see my screen still?
No.
Well, we had 21 people on. Now we're down to 13. They got impatient.
Okay. Well, sorry.
No, that's good.
No, it's good
What's that?
stuff.
But yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's, I mean, if anybody wants to like message me or anything like that, I can let you know how to get what you need to get done. I know that Dawn will be discussing some further stuff
Yep.
and getting things up. It really is super simple. I know that even though like in an hour-long class like that, the beginning is just me kind of letting you know the importance of why someone would want to do it and like how powerful it can be. But like the technical aspect is so easy. It really is. Like I do one, when I very first started my first podcast I ever did, it took me 4 to 8 hours to do each episode. Now I do them between 15 and 25 minutes. And the reason it really depends on how long my episode is to how long how long it takes me to do. And I do Monday through Friday. And the reason I'm on odd numbers is because the first week I got so excited that I did another one on Saturday, and I'm like, no, you can't, if you can't commit to this. My daughter plays soccer usually on the weekend, so there's no way that I could make sure that I got one done every Saturday too. I guess there probably is a way, but I decided I wasn't going to do it.
Fantastic.
So yeah,
Brandon, that was really good stuff. I mean, a couple of things that I wrote down for sure. You kind of started with done is better than perfect. I think I have a problem overthinking things. Want to have it all figured out in my head before I get started. So that was a good takeaway. And then you also mentioned that your podcast works even when you're not. And I think we all need that leverage. I think we all need something to be able to have content or for some form or another that people can learn about us and get to know us without it being one-on-one. So I don't know, my brain's kind of trying to make some connectors in here and how I can fit this in and start my own podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let me know if you need any help. And one of the things also is that don't be afraid to change your mind because now it's like you're out there. From episode 1 to 182, I have different beliefs than I did when I first started. And I know that a lot of times we want to be right instead of be correct. And so we'll try and like stay like, hey, this is my beliefs or whatever. But one of the things, like I said, this being a journal for my kids to go listen to someday, I want them to know that, oh, well, dad thought this at one point, and then he changed his mind to think this and understand why, and let them know that it's okay to, evolve and have different thoughts about different ideas. I mean, obviously most of us in here get as we approach others, we get hit back with a lot of tradition that is not, that people are not necessarily wanting to hear about. And so, I've noticed that a lot more doing this, is that where you can change your mind. You don't have to be stick to what you all have always known. So don't be afraid to share a change of position on something.
That's a great point. I think we all know people that are still living a life because they made a decision at one point in their life and that defined who they were then, and they've carried that through when it doesn't serve them anymore. So that's a huge point to take away. And the other thing I like about your podcast is being authentic. I remember you started one and you said, hey guys, I just got to tell you today sucks.
Yeah.
And then you talked about why today sucked because you just weren't having a good day. And that's real. People can connect with that. If you're always upbeat, it's just like, God, this guy's full of shit, Yeah. You're a pretender, right? You can't always be up.
Well, you know what? And I usually share this in the class, and I can't believe I forgot. And the reason being why that's so important and being relatable is that we always see, hey, here's the ads for real estate. Sold 2 homes last year. This year I've sold 120. Now here's me a photo next to a jet. Like nobody relates to this before and after. We get so honed in on before and after, we don't get to see the journey, and we can't relate to that. Our buddy Dan lost 90 pounds. And I told him, document this, document it. He's like, I'm not that type of person. I don't want to share it with anybody. I said, document it for yourself. And then if you want to share it later, then you can. But you look at him. I watched him at Red Rock Casino, order a full-size salad. he ate half of it right down the middle. And I don't know if that was him like mind over matter type deal going, there's some left. I thought, why wouldn't you just order the half salad? I think for him, he was like, you know what, I'm going to eat half of it. And I know that I only ate half of it because I chose to only eat half of it, not because I ran out. But the other thing is that when people go, oh, here's Dan, well, he went from 370 to 290 or whatever it was, 380 to 290. They look at before and after and they go, well, that's Dan. I saw Dan sit and look at this salad and not eat it. But they didn't see him on day 37 where he got a Big Mac supersize and broke down for the day.
Yeah.
When you see that, you go, oh, well, Dan may have this amazing accomplishment, but you know what? He had a breakdown too. I had that breakdown 3 days ago. You know what? Now I can do this too, is kind of the idea of sharing this stuff with people.
Absolutely.
Hey, DL, I think you're unmuted now. You had raised your hand earlier and had either a question or a comment. Are you still with us? Do you want to chime in?
Sure. So there was just a time there where Brandon wasn't getting much feedback, and basically just wanted to say thanks. There's a ton of great content here. And will this be recorded so that we can go back over it and review the material? And hopefully there's going to be more on this topic in the future, because I've wanted to do a podcast for some time.
Yeah, you're recording this, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, yeah,
So
and
we can make that link available.
And DL, one of the things that I committed to this year was teaching 26 classes locally here in Las Vegas, which obviously I've already had 2 canceled, and 26 was kind of an arbitrary number. I chose it because I figured it would be one every 2 weeks as a way to contribute. But since I'm not doing that, obviously, and we can do things like this, I'm more than happy to help. I actually took on five people that are wanting to launch their podcast in the next couple of weeks. I'd be more than open to have you do that as well.
Are you documenting that, Brandon? Taking those 5 people?
I haven't yet. I will though.
That would be probably be pretty good duplication to be able to.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Listen to people, because even the things that you know you should be doing, you might not be doing them. There's a perfect example of overlooking. My episode yesterday was overlooking. When you get comfortable, you can become careless. And I interviewed Scott, and I listened to it. I was going, what's going on with this audio? Why is it so bad? It sounds like I'm so far away. Well, I updated my computer, and it kicked back everything to the default settings. So when I recorded, I was speaking into the microphone thinking that, okay, make sure that you're in the right spot. And it was recording through the computer. And I was like, oh, I felt so bad because it's such good content that he's giving. And I dropped the ball on the fact that it sounds farther away. It's not like you can't hear me or anything, but the quality is just, it sounds like a, recording from across the room. But listen to people. Just because you think you know what you're doing, Jeff, I should be documenting, and I totally overlooked it. So thank you, Jeff.
No, that's awesome. This is all great content. I think everybody has some good takeaways from it. Maybe we will do a follow-up, now that, re-invite these people. We can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I would ask before we did that was to come up with what is your show about? Maybe like a 3-minute trailer, because here locally, what we had planned on doing was bringing those agents or those guests back and recording their 2 to 3 minute intro episode, trailer episode, in like right there, so that they could do it. But if you have an idea of what it is you want to do, we can go more in depth onto the step-by-step process of what it is. And again, you can, if you happen to catch one of my episodes where I'm in the car, oddly enough has amazing acoustics for recording, where it doesn't sound much different than me on my microphone.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're ever in a pinch, especially right now in the house full of people, you might head out to the car and just record in there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brandon. Anybody have any other comments or questions before we sign off here?
Thank
Great
you. Thanks for
stuff.
letting me be a part of it.
Yep, absolutely. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We are
All right,
on
guys.
stream again.
All right.
Thanks,
All right, see you
guys.
guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thanks. Thank you.